Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today, on Sue's Healthy Minutes, I want to share with you from a book I discovered recently that was buried on my desk under other piles of reading material. I do not know where it came from or how long it has been on my desk, but I found the information so interesting that I thought I had to share it with you today. To whoever gave me this book, if you are listening, thank you for sharing it with me. The book is entitled Longevity Secrets: The Missing Link in Modern Nutrition by D. Gary Young, ND. The book is about a people group, the Hunzas, that has intrigued health-conscious people for decades. Dr. Young actually had the wonderful privilege, rarely granted to outsiders, to visit the Hunzas and see and learn firsthand their secrets to a long and healthy life. Today, I'm going to read some excerpts directly from his fascinating account. First, he states, and I'm reading, "For decades, scholars, researchers, nutritionists, and medical professionals have been intrigued by a people living in a remote corner of Asia known as the Hunzas, who achieved stunning longevity despite enduring a lifestyle that is rugged, hard, and primitive. Routinely living past 100, 110, and even 120 years of age, these people are widely noted for another remarkable trait: a virtual absence of many of the degenerative diseases that plague people living in the civilized and westernized cultures of Europe and North America." During the 1960s and 1970s, several authorities on medicine and nutrition, including Dr. Bernard Jensen and Dr. J. Hoffman, braved the journey to this Central Asian Shangri-La to uncover the secrets to this people's longevity. The fruits of their research were published in several books, which were widely distributed in their time and provided the first real insight into the Hunza's culture, lifestyle, and diet. And I'm continuing to read Dr. Young's account. However, I, Dr. Young, have always been firmly convinced there was more to the story. I have never been truly satisfied that the full facts were completely known. Even more important, I felt there had to be a scientific explanation behind the Hunza people's advanced longevity. Dr. Young goes on to say, "My long-awaited journey into the Hunza Valley enabled me to probe firsthand the lifestyle of the world's oldest recorded people in order to gain a more comprehensive, scientific, and ethical understanding behind this people's celebrated longevity and culture. What I have learned may help us gain a better appreciation of the power that nutrition holds in safeguarding health and promoting longevity. It also confirmed for me how important dietary practices can be in sustaining and renewing life." So, today I want to share with you who are the Hunzas and what can we learn from them. Dr. Young gives a little background, so I'm going to continue reading from this little book. For most of their long history, the people of the Hunza Valley have been relatively isolated from the rest of civilization. Nestled in a high-altitude valley in northeastern Pakistan, they have been protected for centuries by age-old glaciers and the massive Himalaya mountains, which have shielded them from outside influences and cultures. The Principality of Hunza was founded in 340 BC by Greek soldiers who deserted the army of Alexander the Great with their Persian wives. Fearing punishment, the ex-soldiers escaped to a valley high in the Himalayas where they were never found. Hunza remained an independent state until 1891, when it was conquered by the British, who assumed control over its defense, communications, and foreign affairs. For the first time in their history, the Hunzas became subjects of the British Empire. But in 1948, the British departed and Pakistan assumed control over Hunza. This situation continues today, with the Principality of Hunza remaining in a semi-autonomous province of Pakistan, which exerts minimal control over the political and cultural affairs of the principality. Approximately 35,000 people now populate this placid valley on the rooftop of the world. Almost all of these Hunzacots, as the people call themselves, are the original descendants of the deserting Greek soldiers. And until 1983, the Hunza Valley was largely inaccessible to outsiders and foreigners. The only road into Hunza was a narrow, hazardous trail used by silk merchants. This inaccessibility enabled the Hunzas to live in almost complete isolation from the rest of the world, subsisting solely on food grown within the valley. The Hunza's utopia, if you will, is located in the northeastern tip of Pakistan, in the southern regions of the Himalayan mountains, about 8,000 feet above sea level, with some of their farm terraces extending into areas up to 12,000 feet above sea level. The surrounding mountains are 20 to 25,000 feet above sea level. Their climate is extreme, with hot summers reaching temperatures up to 106 degrees Fahrenheit and cold winters down to negative 15. Thankfully, winters are short and the summer climate is long, with a suitable climate for growing many different crops and usually possible to harvest twice in just one season. This isolated and intriguing community is only about half the size of the state of Massachusetts. During his visit into the Hunza Valley, Dr. Young sought answers to why the Hunza people live productive lives at least 30 years longer than most Americans, despite the vast technological, diagnostic, and treatment arsenal at the disposal of American doctors. And what enables the Hunzas to routinely reach the age of 100 or older with great quality of life, without being burdened with degenerative and debilitating diseases that plague most Americans? And why are diseases like arteriosclerosis, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, and dementia virtually non-existent in the Hunza culture? And is it possible that others can benefit from living a similar lifestyle? Dr. Young recorded the findings of his 1998 visit in this little booklet, Longevity Secrets: How the Hunza People Achieve Unsurpassed Longevity Through Diet. And I will say a resounding yes, along with Dr. Young, that we can most certainly benefit, which is why I am sharing this information with you today. Dr. Young admits that a host of factors play a role in the Hunza's unsurpassed longevity, such as their petrochemical-free environment, limited calorie intake, and continuous physical activity even into old age. But he also believes, as I do, that the real secret to their longevity lies in their fiber and nutrient-rich whole food diet, consisting of an unusual combination of glacier water, dried apricots, nuts, and grains, The Hunza diet has one of the highest mineral contents of any diet that has ever been studied. Dr. Young had the pleasure of visiting with villagers who were well past 100 years old with razor-sharp minds, still working with no visible signs of stiffness in the hands, and who could get to their feet quickly and effortlessly after sitting on the floor for an extended time. The Hunzas grow their own food on carefully terraced and irrigated fields on the mountainside. Each field is owned by an individual family and cannot be bought or sold, only passed down to other family members. No harmful pesticides or artificial fertilizers are ever used, and the soil is regularly fortified through irrigation, compost from animal waste, and fallen leaves and plants. As a result of their pristine agricultural practices, the Hunzas produce some of the most nutrient-dense food in the world. Now, I realize that most of us cannot produce our own food in this way, but I also know that good, nutritious fruits and vegetables are becoming more and more available. So for us, adding more fruits and vegetables to our diet can at least be a good start. But let's look at the core of the Hunza diet, and I think you will be amazed by the simplicity of this diet and how obtainable these foods are to us today. Two principal foods make up the core of the Hunza diet: dried apricots and chapatis, which is a mixed grain flatbread made from, you guessed it, freshly milled whole grains, which includes buckwheat, barley, rye, and millet. These two foods, apricots and whole grain bread, share several common characteristics that make them exceptionally nutritious and beneficial to good health. They are both fruits and whole grains, high in minerals, including selenium, zinc, and copper, high in potassium and magnesium, and low in sodium, high in carotenoids, the precursor of vitamin A, high in fiber, high in vitamin E, and high in essential fatty acids, including omega-3 and omega-6. Apricots are the Hunza's primary food source, with more apricot trees under cultivation than any other type of fruit. Huge amounts of apricots are eaten throughout the year, either fresh while in season or dried to enjoy the remainder of the year. Besides apricots, the Hunzas do cultivate other fruits such as mulberries, apples, pears, peaches, grapes, and cherries, and vegetables, including beans, peas, potatoes, tomatoes, lettuce, and cucumbers. Fresh fruits and vegetables are typically eaten raw or lightly steamed when in season, and then dried on rooftops to ensure high-quality nourishment throughout the year. These fresh foods are rich in enzymes and many protective phytonutrients to promote both health and wellness. One of my steps to healthy living is to eat more fruits and vegetables. All the way back in episode 10 of Sue's Healthy Minutes, I discussed the many nutrients supplied by these superfoods and encourage a conscious effort to include more of these foods daily. I even give tips on how to sneak them into foods where you might least expect them. If you missed episode 10, Eat Your Fruits and Vegetables, or haven't listened in a while, you may be inspired to go back and listen again. These foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, are a powerhouse of protection against colds and flus and supply us with many minerals so important to health. Not to mention, when eaten fresh and raw, they give us good gut organisms. Next to apricots, for the Hunzas, whole grains are their staple food. The grains are not refined. They are ground immediately prior to being made into bread. The Hunzas store cereal grains throughout the year for use in preparing breads, puddings, and chapatis. The chapatis are made with freshly ground flour from whole grain millet, buckwheat, rye, and or barley. Just enough water is added to make a thick dough. The dough is then rolled into balls and flattened and cooked briefly on both sides, much like what we know as a tortilla. But the Hunzas eat chapatis with most every meal. Today, I want to take just a brief look at some of the nutritional benefits of each of these grains in the Hunza diet. But in the next few episodes of Sue's Healthy Minutes, we will dive into each grain more thoroughly. Buckwheat supplies an enormous amount of both magnesium and potassium, and its unique fiber content makes it very slow to digest, which prevents surges in blood sugar, making it an ideal food for diabetics. In fact, studies show that buckwheat over other foods such as rice, potatoes, or soy, used as the primary source of carbohydrates in a meal, cause the lowest rise in glucose and insulin levels. Millet, another Hunza staple, with over 12% protein, is a source of 12 essential minerals, including magnesium, potassium, zinc, and iodine. Millet also contains an unusual fatty oil known as millicin oil. Some studies have shown that this oil possesses remarkable liver-protecting properties, and other studies document its anti-inflammatory benefits as well as its ability to speed the healing of diabetic sores and ulcers. Barley, also prevalent in the Hunza diet, is exceptionally rich in fiber, as well as the minerals selenium and potassium. Barley's high soluble fiber content gives it a low glycemic index number, meaning it has only a moderate effect on raising blood sugar levels. Rye, another grain with a unique fiber content, also contributes to the health of the Hunzas, giving the feeling of fullness and satisfaction longer than some grains. Rye is a treasure trove of vitamins and minerals, and especially the B vitamin complex and potassium and even iron. I think it's important to note that the Hunza diet includes very little meat. With limited land space, there is simply not enough land available to support large herds. Only about 1% of their dietary intake of calories is derived from meat or dairy. While I am not opposed to including meat and dairy in a healthy diet, the Hunza high carbohydrate diet certainly dispels the common myths of today that declare that it is carbohydrates that are making Americans fat and unhealthy. Unfortunately, the heavily refined, high sugar, low fiber foods such as bread in America that we call carbohydrates are indeed a culprit in our poor health and obesity, and are giving real complex carbohydrates such as whole grains a bad reputation. All carbohydrates are not the same. The complex carbohydrates that come from nutrient-dense real foods such as whole grains, nuts, seeds, and fresh fruits and vegetables are the mainstay of the diets of the healthiest groups of people in the world. Beside the unsurpassed nutritional profile of whole grains and real foods, one of the reasons for the remarkable longevity of the Hunza people may rest in the high potassium, low sodium ratio of their diet. The mixed grains and dried fruits and vegetables they regularly consume all have exceptionally high potassium levels, but low sodium levels. This I find very interesting. Barley has 37-1 potassium to sodium ratio. Apricots, 137-1. And buckwheat, an astounding 460-1 potassium to sodium ratio. So, how important is this potassium to sodium ratio? Well, it is vital to maintaining optimum blood pressure, cellular fluid balance, and pH balance, 3 of the most fundamental cornerstones of good health. Potassium is also involved in protein synthesis, converting blood sugar into glycogen, and activating numerous enzymes. And a potassium deficiency has been directly linked to increased signs of aging. Our American diets, however, are the exact opposite. 2/3 of the foods we tend to eat are processed, most of which include heavy doses of salt to improve the flavor. Sodium levels in processed food are at least twice as high as potassium levels, if not more, and are certainly not the ratio found in the real whole foods. And the commercially processed wheat and other grains are stripped of most of their magnesium and potassium with the removal of the bran and germ portions. This is just one aspect of the health benefits of the Hunza diet. As stated in the beginning of today's episode, there are many factors that play a role in their good health, and we will look at more of those in future episodes. The Hunza cuts, as they call themselves, have nurtured a culture that fosters active physical labor well into advanced age and a passion for life that is the envy of neighboring cultures. In fact, the Hunza cuts have virtually no awareness of the concept of retirement, and 90 to 100-year-olds regularly work the fields right along with their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And with no motorized transportation, they do a tremendous amount of walking, traveling several miles a day. Unfortunately, our American lifestyle and work is much more sedentary, and we now find ourselves having to look for ways to get exercise. I share the importance of exercise as one of my steps to healthy living in episode 12 of Sue's Healthy Minutes titled Exercise in Search of Work. In closing, I want to share a sobering truth about the Hunzas today. Everything changed for the Hunzas in 1983 with the opening of the first paved highway into their world, and for the first time in their history, a route to the outside world. Soon, their pristine diet and lifestyle became corrupted by the influx of foreign foodstuffs. With the introduction of candy, carbonated beverages, refined sugar, and salt, came the Hunza's first diagnosed case of cancer in just 1986, 3 years later. Village elders reported that the average lifespan has been shortened by over 20 years during the 15 years following the opening of the highway to the world. When asked, the elders themselves pinpointed the primary cause for their soaring rates of disease and mortality by stating, it came with the food, the sugar, salt, and canned foods the people now eat, the modern foods. The Hunza people are a living testimony of the counsel given by the father of Western medicine, Hippocrates himself, who stated, "Let food be your medicine, and medicine be your food." And an even greater testimony to a loving God who caused the earth to bring forth foods, plants that bear fruit with seed in them, and plants that bear seeds for our food. These supply our bodies with all the good things it needs. God is truly our loving provider. May we seek ways to return to His perfect provision and live lives to the fullest. Over the next few weeks, I thought it would be good to revisit the more in-depth health benefits of the specific grains of the Hunza diet: buckwheat, millet, rye, and barley, to give you more nutritional information and hopefully to inspire you to incorporate more diversity of whole grains into your diet. Just thinking about these grains, even with what little I've shared today, has made me want to go make some rye bread or cook up a pot of millet or buckwheat porridge or substitute some barley flour into my cakes or cookies for the holidays. So be inspired. Just as there are so many fruits and vegetables to choose from, there are so many great whole grains to eat and enjoy. And in the words of Dr. J. Hoffman, one of the earlier visitors to the Hunza community, certainly we can learn much from the examples of the Hunza cuts, if only we will put into daily practice the basic health principles exemplified in the lives of these longest living people of the world. May God bless you and your family in this holiday season, and may we all find better health through God's perfect provisions. Thank you for listening today. Until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.